Welcome to In the Making. I'm Teresa Au. Join me for conversations with creatives, solopreneurs, and experts as we explore the unique challenges and surprising rewards of the creator economy.
Hi, everybody. We're live from Adobe MAX in Miami. I'm here with the phenomenal Jason Naylor that we just met today. You were one of our keynote speakers, so inspirational. For those of you who don't know Jason, Jason is so many things. You're a New York artist. You are known for your bright colors and your brighter themes. You express them in large murals like we saw on stage. And you have worked with brands like Coach, Pepsi, Toyota, Microsoft, MAC, the makeup brand that you were working at.
And Adobe.
And Adobe now, so wonderful.
Yeah.
What was it like being on the big stage telling your story to 10,000 attendees?
I mean, it was epic. I like to perform. Like, I'm not an actor, but like, I like to be in front of people and perform, and like, I do a lot of live painting. And I realized yesterday during the dress rehearsal, like, I need the people. And so the dress rehearsal was kind of flat because I was like,
there was nobody in the audience.
There's like a couple of people down there and like an empty room. And today there's all these people and like the response, like that really fuels me. And so it was amazing.
Yeah. I'm curious how you started. You said you started drawing as a kid. So tell me more about that moment when you knew you wanted to be a creative artist.
I don't remember the moment. It just always was. Like, I was always drawing, I always did well in art class, and I did okay in school, like not bad, but like I excelled in art class always, and always doing like art contests, and in my spare time, like just making art, and it just was a thing that was just a part of my life. So it was never a question. It was actually more of a question of like, how am I gonna make a living? Because I had my mom who's an artist and very supportive of like the creative journey and path, and my dad who was like, you got to grow up and have a real job, and so as a kid I wasn't raised to think that artist is a real job. So
I think most of us.
That's kind of where that's where it went,
Yeah. Let's talk about your move to New York.
Yeah.
Why New York? And I know why New York. I'm a New Yorker myself.
Yeah.
Like, what made you at that time want to go to New York?
Well, I went to New York when I was 16 with my parents. My older sister went to Juilliard. She's a pianist. So she was already there in college, and we went, my parents and I, to visit her. And when I got to New York, like, I was just mesmerized by it. I was just like, what is this place? And I grew up in Salt Lake City. Like, Salt Lake City is a very clean, pristine, perfect, planned, organized city.
Very different.
And New York is just chaos. And I thought that it was so magical and it was magnetic to me. Like, I felt like this is where I need to be, and I will do anything and everything to get here as soon as possible.
Yeah. What did you do when you first got to New York?
I immediately like kind of changed my appearance and started like getting tattoos and dressing the way I wanted to dress, which is very like punk rock, like kind of based on the music I was listening to. And wearing eyeliner, and like I got kind of like caught up in this like East Village punk rock scene.
Love the East Village.
Yeah, and it was a fit, and it was like I wanted to rebel against the way that I was expected to look in Salt Lake City, but like finding all these punk kids on 8th Street, on St. Mark's Place.
St. Mark's,
yeah, and like that was like, oh, this is like my people, and so then I wanted to fit in with them.
I want to talk about the colors.
Yeah.
I think it's very ironic that you don't wear color yourself.
Right.
You wear a lot of black. Is that all you wear?
Only black, yeah.
Only black?
Maybe white.
Maybe white.
White tank top.
Is there a reason? Tell me why.
Yeah. Well, I mean, first of all, the color should go on the wall or on the canvas or on your fresco. Everyone wears black in New York. In fact, if you don't, it's kind of like, who's the weirdo?
Who are you?
Know?
Yeah.
I think black looks good on me. Like, it fits my style. But then it also has turned into kind of a brand where, like, I feel like the black frames the color and gives it weight and balance.
Yeah.
And I use a lot of color, but there's also a lot of black in my work. And I think it's important because the black justifies the color and gives it balance. Whereas if it's just full send color, it can potentially be too much or childlike.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Or too lean. It could skew to like rainbow pride, and I've done a lot of like pride related work, always as an ally, but I think it's important to like balance out the work with the black, and so I wear the black as part of the balance.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, and there's accents in your work that picks it up and it really frames it very nicely.
Yeah.
How did you go from not having a lot of followers to really getting big and getting known out there? Like, what was the thing that you did that thrust you, I guess, into the limelight?
You know, I mean, I did spend some time trying to get followers and like thinking about what would get followers, and it came up. I mean, you can do that, but like it's exhausting and it makes you feel bad about yourself.
No one should do that, really.
Yeah, and I agree. It's just not healthy. So I have done that, but the real growth that I've seen with social media and beyond just like Instagram, like I so many people, when I ask how they found me, say Pinterest, you know, and I just have all these things on Pinterest floating around that I don't know if I even put there. Like, but I think the biggest thing is the public art. You know, like so many people take photographs in front of my murals and tag me and
they
share
post
them.
about it.
Yeah, and so that's been big for my growth because of it's like other people are my ambassadors out there, like doing the work for me. Thank you all. You know, but like, you know, I think the public art is the biggest thing, and it appears in places that you don't expect. Like I like Instagram because it's a platform that I kind of grew up on in my career, but like, and TikTok is funny because like I just put videos of me spraying and people follow me, but I don't think anyone's ever hired me because of TikTok. I think people hire me because of Pinterest or maybe LinkedIn or something, you know?
Is that how you get most of your clients?
I don't know, it's hard to tell.
They just reach out to you on social media or
I have an agent, so like a lot of it, like, you know, if you go to my website or my Instagram, it says I'm repped by this agent, contact them, you know, and so it's hard to track.
Yeah, for sure. And I just want to note that even though you have an agent and the way you agreed to this interview, I just want to say how grateful I am to Jason because he didn't know me. I follow you. I heard you were one of the inspirational speakers, and I have this little podcast at Adobe, and I said, will you be my guest? And you just said yes. So thank you. I'm so grateful to you, honestly.
I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, you're
and I'm
such
happy
a
you're
kind
alive
soul.
and well.
Yes. He's saying this because just yesterday I was in the hospital in the ER, but now I'm okay. I'm totally fine. Have you ever been stuck where someone hires you for a mural or an art piece and you're like, I don't even know where to start?
You know, at this point, I don't have that problem, and people come to me because they want
the
what
style
I'm
that
doing.
you have. Yeah.
And I'm very fortunate. You know, like I realize that's a huge privilege, and I've worked hard to get here.
How long did it take you to really find that style, to find those colors and that uniquely you?
Yeah. I mean, it took years. Like, you know, they say the 10,000 hours, there's never tracking hours, but like I did a daily drawing, like daily design, and I put that on Instagram every day. And that was like early days on Instagram where people like followed people.
Yeah.
And that was like very pivotal in kind of finding my voice, like, and because I made the goal of doing a piece every day. By the end of the year, it was like I found the rhythm. Because if you start doing a bunch of work, you see patterns in your work. You start to find yourself repeating shapes or lines or whatever, you know, and the patterns start to unfold, and it comes from just doing the work. So it took me a long time, you know, it wasn't overnight by any means. And now I'm still trying to challenge my style constantly.
So how do you do that?
My recent challenges have been introducing characters, trying to tell the story without any words. You know, like I come from a design background, so lettering and typography makes sense. But trying to tell a story in one flat image,
it's tough.
Without any words is hard. And it's a good challenge.
Where do you go for inspiration?
You know, I'm kind of like in the mindset of like fill the well. Like I don't seek inspiration. I like to like do things in the world that provide like opportunity to fill the well with inspiration. And in New York, that's easy because it's like, walk down the street and look at signage, or like look at all the ads, or like go to a museum, or go to like a magic show or a movie. Like there's so many.
You're
different
surrounded.
things. Yeah,
There's
like I don't like visual inspiration. I mean, I love it, but like I'm not looking to like I don't go to the MoMA and be like, I'm looking for inspiration. Like just go to the MoMA and see what happens. And then when it's time to like do the work, you have what you need in your head.
So let's talk about one of your big murals. I love what you're doing with You Are Not Alone. I'd love to share that story of why you got involved and where that came from.
Yeah. Let's talk about it. The reason why I have dedicated time to get involved with anything related to mental health is because I lost my sister to suicide a couple of years ago. And I'll start by saying I feel at peace with the loss of my sister because I feel her peace. And she suffered for many years and attempted suicide for many years, many times, and finally died by suicide. But while that's a tragedy to people who are still living, you can feel the peace of the person when you know how much they were suffering. And so for me, I think the power that I have with the public art that I'm doing is important because I don't want to take it for granted, and it's important that I use that power and that I use this platform that I have to do things that help other people, and I choose to do it in the avenue of mental health. And so the You Are Not Alone project is a global mural project that was started a couple of years ago by a couple of my friends, and we empower and engage artists all around the world to paint murals that say you are not alone. And it's a branded color palette, so it's black, white, gray, and yellow. It's always...
Why did you choose those? Why are those colors?
So the founder of the project, Sam Schutz, she is an author, and she wrote a book named I Don't Want to Be Crazy, and it's all about her anxiety. And the cover for the book is that color palette, black, yellow, gray. The idea for the project came from that book, but it grew into more of like a mental health, kind of like suicide prevention, like mental health awareness project, not just anxiety.
Right.
But the point was, when you're living with or suffering from a mental health illness or challenge, it's common that you do feel like you're alone. And the point of the murals is to put it out there in public, saying you are not alone, and chances are there's someone else who may be experiencing something similar. But even if there's not, it doesn't mean you're alone.
Yeah.
What you feel may be unique to you, but that doesn't mean you don't have love or support.
Yeah. I just want to read a quote that I read that you said about the mural.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who you are, when you walk by a mural, you are involved. So let the artwork on the wall serve as a reminder that you are special and that you have value and you deserve love. And most importantly, you are not alone. I mean, I love that. That's the message that you want to put out there.
Yeah, and it's true.
You are also shown in galleries. What kind of art is shown in your gallery work? And how does one get into a gallery?
Well, the gallery world is kind of strange compared to the world of commercial art. And I kind of like came in the back door with gallery stuff because of my mural work. The work that I show in galleries is generally not as literal as the public work that I do. Fine art collectors, they respond to work that's maybe a little bit more provocative, maybe a little bit less literal. And so the work that I do tends to be a little bit more abstract. My open heart figure and character, that has a lot of weight in fine art world. And so rather than like doing paintings that say things like spread love, I would do something more that's based on the hearts, a little bit more abstract, maybe a little bit more painterly, less graphic and designy. And that's the kind of work that I show in galleries.
I want to talk a little bit about what you said on stage, saying yes to yourself. Tell us more about that concept.
I like the idea of just like saying yes to everything that comes your way, because generally when we say no to something, especially when it's an opportunity, it's because of fear.
Yeah.
And so if you just say yes, you go do things and you get out of your comfort zone and you take risks, and half the time those end up being rewards.
Yeah.
So for maybe like 2 years before actually quitting my job, I wanted to quit my job. And I think people who have full-time jobs, but commonly have this dream of like, I would like to be freelancer, I'd like to do my own thing or start my own business. And why don't you? Because you're scared you won't make money. You're scared of whatever, right? And so to me, saying yes was like, taking the risk and betting on myself.
I always say that the successful people are the ones that do it regardless of their fear. I think everyone has fear.
Everyone.
But it's the ones that take that leap and go for it that will benefit from it, right?
Yeah, and also here's the thing when it comes to quitting your job. The fear is like a little bit silly because it's like, if it doesn't work out the way that you wanted, you just go back and get another job.
When did you know it was time to say goodbye?
I mean, I think for me, it was when I started to realize that I was doing a lot of work that had a lot of value to the brand that I worked for, and I wasn't really being credited for it. You know, when you work for a brand, the work that you do is owned by the brand. And you don't even know that when you get the job, because you're like, yay, I got a job as a graphic designer. But like really, you're doing work for that company and they own it all. And when I realized that, I'm like, but I'm doing all this and I'm just giving it away to you. And maybe I think that was a little bit of like a juvenile attitude, you know, like I need to own all my work. Like
it's kind of human nature.
Yeah.
It's like your baby, right?
Yeah.
You
And
gave
almost
it so much energy and
Yeah.
time that you want some credit or...
Yeah, and it's what I wanted was someone to pat me on the back, you know, and be like, nice work. Not pat the brand on the back and say nice work.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. So we have a lot of young creatives here today during this conference this week. What advice would you, I'm sure you get this all the time, what advice would you give someone just starting out? A lot of people here are working for themselves or want to quit their day job and work for themselves.
I think, I mean, like the logistical advice for quitting your job and doing your own thing is save up enough money to live for 6 months.
That is always the plan. When I talked to Aaron Draftman last year, he said the same.
Yeah.
He's been saving.
Yeah.
Don't do it. Be smart.
Yeah.
Don't quit without a plan,
Yeah.
without money.
Yeah, and so the advice that was given me was 6 months, you know, but I don't think the 6 months is the number that matters. I think the principle matters. Save up enough money so that you can have a plan and like know what you're getting into and what you'll do if you run out of work, right? Like, so that's the plan. And then the second thing is don't just have a plan with like the savings. Have a plan with what you're going to do to make money.
Yeah.
You know, because you can't just be like, I'm going to be a freelance illustrator. You have to be much more specific than that because there are a million people who are freelance illustrators. There are a million people who paint murals. And I'm not saying have your style or have your niche, like work on that, of course. Have a plan of like, how are you actually going to make money? Like, who are you illustrating for? What are you illustrating? Like,
Right.
maybe that's the start to figuring out your voice.
Right.
You know, because it's like, if you want to be an illustrator, for example, do you know anybody who works with illustrators? Let's start there, right?
Talk to them.
Talk to them and be like, listen, I'm about to quit my job and I'm going to be a freelance illustrator. Would you ever have work for me? Do you have a once a month gig for me? Like, that's the kind of planning you got to do.
Do a lot of exploratory like meetups and get advice from people who's doing it, who's done it.
Yeah. And then that's a big point too to talk about. Community is important, and whether that means a small support group of people who are also illustrators, or if it's a massive design community that you're part of and you go to networking events and meet new friends and potential clients, you know, and like, I think the community part is really big, and when you work for yourself, it's a hustle because you're always, in a way, like fishing for work, you know, and I have an agent, which means like work comes through the agent for me sometimes, but a lot of the work that I do doesn't come from Instagram, it doesn't come from my agent, it comes from me being in social settings in New York City. I'm always out partying, not like getting wasted, but like out at events, you know, doing things. And I mean, my girlfriend's into this too. She's an interior designer, and we're always out at like furniture events, like launch parties, gallery openings. Like, you go to social events and you talk about what you do.
Yeah.
And if you go out 3 nights a week to a social setting, have one drink, talk to people, talk about what you do, get a couple business cards, potentially once a week you meet somebody that knows somebody who wants to hire you or whatever. That's how it works. You have to always do that.
Networking is also another key component.
Yeah.
For sure.
And you know, that part of it can be very hard for some people, and especially creative people are commonly more introverted and like to hide behind the screen or the canvas. And that's something you got to work through. Like if you're like a digital native kind of person, figure out how to network online. You know, for me, it's like I don't want to sit on an app. I want to go talk to people because I like people. And I love being social, and I love being around people, and I love when people watch me and talk to me and like watch me paint. But like, that's my vibe. So you got to figure out a way to network that fits your vibe.
Yeah. for sure. What is your one word that is really, your North Star, your guiding light?
Besides yes?
Besides yes.
I mean, it's kind of the phrase, like open your heart has become almost like a slogan that I kind of live by. But the reason that it matters is because I think it's very all-encompassing. It's the phrase open your heart, and I have it in my email signature, and it's good because sometimes it helps me to check myself. If there's like feedback from a client or like an email that I don't like, and my nature is to respond emotionally, especially when it's about your work. It's like sometimes you do a design,
take it personal,
and it's your baby, and someone's like, they don't even say like, oh, thank you for sending, or we like this. It's just like, fix this, change it, and you're like, you, like and then I'm like, okay, but I can't respond and say you.
Right.
I'm like, okay, I need to respond with kindness. And
so
I
you have
see
to
my
stop
signature
yourself.
that says open your heart, and I'm like, guardrails, behave in a way that supports the message that I'm trying to spread. And generally that's what's in my heart, but when it's not, I have to check myself. So that's kind of that's my thing, that's my message.
Yeah. I'm going to ask you, has opening your heart ever disappointed you or not worked out the way you would like?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think there are times when, being vulnerable with myself, with my work, with my clients, has not been well received because people don't necessarily operate in the same way. And when you make yourself vulnerable with someone else and they can't match that, you can be embarrassed or feel small. And that's of course happened. And I mean, there's also been things where I've done work and never gotten paid. Like, I've had all those things too. So it doesn't always work out.
Yeah, life is funny like that, right?
Yeah. But generally it does. And I believe, and I stand by, that if you treat people with kindness, like generally you will be met with kindness as well.
Yeah. And what do you want to see in the world? Like, what changes are you hoping to see? Because everything you do has such great impact.
Well, first of all, thank you. I appreciate it. And it does, I'm happy that my work makes an impact. I'm not going to be unrealistic and think that me painting a mural is going to stop genocide.
Wars and
whatever. I think that if I can impact one person at a time, then I feel confident that, the ripple effect is real. And together we can make the world a better place. So I don't think that by myself I can do that much, except if I can put a smile on someone's face, then they will go put a smile on someone else's face. And that's how we're going to do it. Even if it's not about me, you don't have to share my message. Share your own positive message.
But thank you so much.
Thank you.
Actually, I don't shake hands.
Bring it in.
Oh, thank you.
No, it was
so
awesome.
much.
I appreciate you having
You're
me.
amazing.
I'm glad you're alive and well.
Thank you again to Jason Naylor for joining us live from the Convention Center floor at Adobe MAX. That was so much fun recording together in person and comparing my temporary tattoos to his real ones. And if you haven't checked out Jason's inspirational keynote speech at Adobe MAX this year, we have a link in our show notes. Here are just a few of my takeaways from our talk. 1. Public art becomes your ambassador. Have you thought about where you could paint a wall or put up a poster to share your work outdoors? 2. When you're thinking of working for yourself, make a plan of how you are going to find clients. Reach out to your contacts to see what your income potential might be. 3. Networking is so important, and Jason loves to get out to events and openings. But even if you prefer socializing online, make a real effort to meet new people and tell them all about what you do.
Thanks for listening to In the Making, brought to you by Adobe Express, the all-in-one content creation app included in your Creative Cloud membership. If you like this episode, be sure to leave us a rating and a review and subscribe in your favorite podcast app. I'm Teresa Au, and I'll see you next time.